Sitting in the middle of the street, then crossing path, they're going to federal prison. Directed light, license 45233S1. They're monitoring with Tracy Banks, who's loitering in the street. She is monitoring in plain sight. That's an impermissible threat. That is a demon whose name I know. You're understanding what is a third party nonetheless, posing an impermissible threat with the Ontario police, who are engaged in ongoing pacing. Just flying in circles repeatedly. This is directed light that's moving across the gates. While somebody, a demon that calls himself a mother, let me tell you something, your family is not that bloodline, okay? You understand your family by what they're actually doing, because actual family would not be threatening your life with the police, would not engage in criminal summoning with the police like Tracy Banks has done, and she's monitoring with them now, and that's also why they were flying over me while I was inside of her car, inside of that apartment complex. All right, the same exact elements of monitoring. You see this in possible light? The same exact P.O.C. while Tracy Banks is standing in the street monitoring group stalking. She's sitting in federal, but that's where she's going to go with these demons, the Ontario police. That's just a group stalker whose name I know. Tracy Banks is no different than the third party BSDNA 77. Group stalking, monitoring with the Ontario police in what is directed light that's appearing at nightfall on the ground in the asphalt. All right, she's not concerned about my safety, and that's what you want to pay attention to while she's standing in directed light talking about get out of the street. She's group stalking. All right, and you already know that by her group, her documented criminal pattern of conduct and her audible activity, seeking to defame somebody who's documenting what is stalking by the police, who engage in kidnapping, and that's why the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, they're all going to federal prison. This is the police department that they engaged in kidnapping with. All right, and that's what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in now. While they literally engage in it, it is the prosecution of the Chino Police Department. It is the prosecution of the people of the state, including minions whose name I know. It is the prosecution of the entity that is following from place to place, and it is doing so in directed light. That's demonic. It's not light, not headlights. Has nothing to do with that car. It's demonic. That's what Tracy Banks is engaged in. That's why they're going to federal prison. Sitting in more relevant position, they're monitoring and where they live. Sitting in the middle of the street, those are demons stalking with light. That's what Tracy Banks is participating in against her own flesh and blood. These are psychopaths you're going to put in mental institutions, and they're going to sit in federal prison while they plainly engage in what is a threat to the public, because that's what this evidence is used against, the threat that the demon-possessed pose, and that's why you have a police department stalking in helicopter. They're going to federal prison. Directed light across the wall. Has nothing to do with their headlights. That's a Latino male. 6FQZ121, and this is what Tracy Banks is doing against her own flesh and blood. That's a psychopath that she is. This is demonic. This is demonic. That's what this is. Demon possession, demonic activity, P.O.C. License plate of that third party, they're going to federal prison. All right, and this is the Ontario police flying in circles. This serves no legitimate purpose. All right, the entity engaging in obsessive stalking on an ongoing basis, which is exactly what the Chino Branch Library were engaged in. This is evidence against Tara, okay, that overweight minion that had directed light on her face while she was stalking and monitoring, trying to harass somebody. She's going to federal prison because this is the criminal system she's engaging in. Demonic pacing, one after another. One after another. They're monitoring. It is currently 9:08 p.m. Look at the idiot that is the state of California, fully caught in what is that system of group stalking, and then when Satan gets caught, engages in more of the same. Group stalking is not a secret. Group stalking is not a conspiracy theory. Group stalking is demonic activity. Group stalking is that which shall be prosecuted as what is the serious threat against the lives of American citizens, a violation of your constitutional human rights. And I mean anywhere that you are, 325 West G Street in Ontario, California, they're going to federal prison. All right, you're going to remove those children from what is the threat that those third parties pose while they're engaging in terrorism, while they're group stalking inside of the venue where they live on a nightly basis. By the way, they're engaging in terrorism. This is a threatening environment. The entity is threatening my life as though they're going to drop bombs or shoot at me, and you have children which they are using, they are monitoring with them in relevant position while they are terrorizing me while I'm outside. This is satanic targeting. That's what this is. You're going to in every way neutralize the threat that the people of the state pose. These are the threats to public. This is a demon crossing path in directed light. Shadow on both sides of them. P.O.C. That's Satan. Under what is the entity stalking by helicopter? What do you think they're doing? They're stalking. This is the system of group stalking. All right? This is the reality and what is, again, the strip down. I've already shown you what is the P.O.C. 7HMM596 is going to federal prison. And let me be clear, the entity inside of 7-Eleven, they're going to federal prison. They're monitoring right now. You don't have a right to operate a business. Woodside Senior Apartments constitutes a business. All right? That's P.O.C. License plate. I can't really see that. The entity is engaging in what is Woodside Senior Apartments is a facilitating venue where the entity is group stalking an American citizen. Group stalking is presence on behalf of the state that is keeping you under surveillance. What type of idiot would engage in providing this sort of evidence? One that is a threat to a public. You're going to place them in federal prison. That's why you would fly in circles like this, with knowledge of the fact you're being documented, in conformity to a body of evidence. What type of delusional and threat to the public would engage in that? One that's heavily documented. Every demon on June 16, 2022, group stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library. That pack of demons that I told you that they were under the fake sun stalking, that's the same police department. They're going to federal prison. License plate C580491, federal prison. This is impunity. They not only go, they're going to sit in federal prison. License 6EFY420, federal prison. That's light activity. This is P.O.C. This is light activity. They're stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Federal prison, that's impunity. AEVM911. I'm not in the way. They're stalking right now. 7SLJ987. They're a bunch of demons. That's why I have shadows on both sides of my person. This is P.O.C. This is also terrorism, because what police are you going to call when the police are stalking you? Those are the ones that are then defaming you and kidnapping you. You don't have authority under the law stalking like this. It's surveillance. That's why they're going to federal prison. That's why you're disbanding them. The Ontario International Airport is engaged in what is an ongoing molestation, a sex offense, flying over the intersection in directed light where the police are stalking. That's the P.O.C. It's crossing path. There's no plane taking off over here. That's stalking in an airplane. The Ontario International Airport is directly engaged in terrorism. The P.O.C. is to engage in demonic pacing in the specific environment by plane and helicopter. All right, and it's not just Woodside Senior Apartment. It's not just 7-Eleven. It's not just 325 West G Street in Ontario, California. It's not just 630 North Fern in Ontario, California. It's not just these license plates. You're talking about what is a radius. I'm going to prosecute this entire venue. Understand that. That's what this represents. The state's engaged in state surveillance, as the Ontario Police Department is demonstrating. You're going to prosecute. I mean, and this is the massive ability to document and what is prosecute a large amount of people who are monitoring you together, and you're going to prosecute them together, because that's what it is. That's what it is. This is P.O.C. This is the entity for over 10 minutes, including through what is a third party. That's not a mother. I'm not dealing with a person. I'm dealing with a spirit. That's Satan, calling themselves a mother. She's not. And I'm not going to mince words with Satan. License 8VLY372. They're going to federal prison. And so is Tracy Banks. 7YSF945. That's understanding what is a psychopath. That's what Tracy Banks represents, and that's just the reality. All right, 6W53229, understanding the levels of malice, understand the impunity with which you engage in what is a matter of public corruption, understand the defiance as I'm capturing it. This is what is revealing that psychopath, 5JCP901. And let me be clear, all of these demons live in relevant position. They are all at attention, monitoring with communication devices. That's the reality of what's going on. That's why I have a shadow here and shadows over here and disappearing. Shadows over here. This is impossible light activity. This is a molestation. Alrighty, it is currently, I want to make sure I get this, it's 9:13 p.m. The Chino Police Department engaging, that's a demon stalking with light. Understand what that is. This is the pattern of conduct. And that's one under the age of majority. That's a little demon stalking with light. Okay, the entity engaging in this exact system, stalking by helicopter by the Chino Police Department. That demon Murillo, she's going to federal prison, and so is her demon-possessed partner. You're talking about what is the prosecution of the Chino Police Department. All right, not the only police department engaged in that same exact criminal system as the Ontario Police Department, so vividly demonstrated for the world to see. Again, the Ontario Police Department that shall be no more. They're violent sex offenders, very much concerned about what's going on within my panties and any private space, where they're also engaged in ongoing obsessive surveillance. In concert with who? The people of the state who are stalking in bathrooms. Obsessive stalking, flying in circles over me by helicopter, that lets you know what they're doing on an ongoing basis. This is a stalker. Engaging in this conduct, 7HGM616, and directed light moving inside of the car. That's an impossible occurrence. Your headlights have nothing to do with that. Just like they're doing on the walls, on the surfaces outside, they're stalking with light, and that's what demons do. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. It is 9:14 p.m.